Webflow's new conditional visibility changes a lot of the way which we can build in Webflow and the options we can offer to our clients. So here I have two native Webflow interactions, one for scale, another for slide. And I have this new toggle where I can choose between scale, where it'll animate on scale, and I can choose between slide. A lot of what was holding people back from using components or using them correctly has been solved with this new conditional visibility. So I'm really excited to cover some key examples of how we can use it, starting with one of the most basic things that every site needs, the way we build buttons and cards. Now, you might be setting your entire card or button to be a link block, which means screen readers have to read all image and all text inside it, which is not very ideal. And also, if we were to try and add a slot, we can't actually have that slot inside. So it's better to convert that over to a div. But then there's two ways we can make something clickable. We can use a link block, or we can use a custom element set to a button tag. And whenever something should go to another page, we should use the link block, and it will announce to screen reader users that this is going to take them somewhere else. Whenever it should trigger an action on the same page, like open or closing a modal, switching a toggle or a tab, for that we should use the button tag. And whenever a user tabs onto this and presses spacebar, it'll also trigger when it's a button. So typically we would have to create separate components for each, or we'd have to use CSS to hide one versus the other, which isn't ideal. But with this new conditional visibility, it only renders if the element's actually used. So to see an example of this in action, let's select this link. Let's give it a class of clickable. Let's go ahead and position it absolute to cover the full parent, which means that button tag will need position relative. And let's go ahead and give this clickable under custom properties a border radius inherit. So that way it just inherits the rounded corners of its parent. That's important because when we tab onto that link or button, we want the outline to match the rounded corners of that parent. And so now that we have that set, let's go ahead and give this clickable something like an area label. And we'll go ahead and set the text to say get started. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing on this button. So we'll give it that area label under custom attributes right here. And we'll go ahead and set it get started. And so that way, when a screen reader user tabs onto the link or button, it reads that text to them. And I'll give that button that same class of clickable. And I'll go ahead and remove the default padding Webflow adds. And I'll also go ahead and set the background color to transparent, like so. And then we'll go ahead and select this text element here. We don't want the screen reader to read double text. So we'll set this visible text to area hidden true. That way it's ignored by screen readers and only the text of the link or button is read. So let's connect this to a prop. We'll call this text for our button text. And then we'll just connect the area label on that link block and that button to match so that when we type some text into the button, the area labels on the link and button tag are matching. Now we want to be able to hide or show these button tags. Now to do that, we're going to connect the link here to a prop. And then under visibility, we'll create a conditional here. And we'll say if the link is set, then we want to make the link visible, which means it'll be rendered, else it'll be completely removed. And on this button tag, again, create a conditional. And we'll say if the link here is not set, then we want to render the button tag. So basically, as soon as the client here sets a link, it'll automatically show the link tag and it'll delete the button tag on the published site. Whereas if they don't set a link, then it's going to use the button tag instead of the link. So we're not having a bunch of unneeded HTML repeated throughout our page, but also the client doesn't have to remember to keep switching the tags in use, which often team members can forget to do. So this is just a much cleaner solution. Now let's look at this example with these buttons. So let's add a div inside our slider component, and we can give this any class. I'll call it animate-scale. And here for visibility, we'll connect that to a switch and we'll name this animate. And we'll set the on label to be scale and the off label to be slide. And we'll go ahead and create. So now if we have this set to slide, the animate scale div will be completely removed from this slider component. If we have it set to scale, that div will be added back in. And we're just going to make sure the div is set to display none, so it's not taking up any height, whether it's in the component or not. And now we want to create a unique animation here. So we'll head over to our interactions and our scale interaction. And here I'm going to set my trigger class to be the slider component. So whenever this component scrolls into view, I want to find the images inside of that component and animate those images. But instead of applying this to every slider component, we're going to say only slider components that contain the animate scale div. So when that div is inside of the component, the animation will be enabled. And when we delete the div, it should have no animation because the slider component does not contain that div. Now, this is going to work perfectly fine on the publish site, but if we were to actually remove that div here in Designer, even with custom code enabled, we'll notice the animation is still playing here. And that's because Webflow doesn't actually delete our conditional invisible elements inside Designer view. If we check out this element here, Webflow just adds a class of w-condition invisible to hide that element inside Designer view. And it waits till the publish site to actually remove that element. So for anything where we still want things to look good inside of Designer without having to publish, what we can do is I'll open back up this interaction here. And we'll say when the slider component contains an animate scale, but I'm going to switch this over to a custom selector. I'll add a period, animate dash scale, and then we'll add colon not, and then open and close parentheses. And within those parentheses, I'll add a period and paste the class name here. So basically we're saying when this slider component contains an animate scale div that does not have the conditional invisible class. So that scale div is not hidden. So now if we run this, we'll notice that with the slide option set, the scale animation will actually be completely disabled. And then when we turn this on, it'll work again. And it'll work the exact same way on the published site. Now, if we're going to do the opposite of this, like if we want a slide animation to only work with slide, we do need a little bit more complex of a selector. So if I go into the slide one here, and I'm going to go ahead, I could do element is the, or class is the slider component, but I don't have an option to say when it does not contain the animate scale div here. So because of that, we'll need to use the custom selector and start with the slider component. And we'll say when that slider component does not, so colon not, and then we'll say has, open and close parentheses. So when the slider component does not have a certain element, and the element we're looking for is going to be, I'll just add a random class for now, but it's going to be this exact same selector from here. So when it does not have this animate scale div without the conditional invisible class. So if I just copy that, and then here, slider component not has, we delete class and we paste in that first selector. And so now this slide animation that I have here that's sliding things over will only run when it's set to slide. So I can preview that. Notice that works just fine. And then if I switch it over to scale, we get the scale animation. Now, if you're using custom code, the selector is actually going to be a lot more simple. So let's say we want to loop this slider or not loop it. So I'll say let loop equal false. So basically we're disabling the loop on our slider by default, and I can just go ahead and set loop here to be loop like that, or I can even just use the shorthand like that, either way. But basically we want to update loop to be true whenever there's a div inside. So we would say const, we'll call this const loop div equals component dot query selector. And all we would do is just look for a loop div that is not the condition invisible class, not w condition invisible, like so. And once we have that set, we can go ahead and just say, so something like that. And then we can say if loop div.length. So that just means if there's at least one loop div, then update our loop to be true like that. So we can kind of do something like that. And that way it handles both if the div exists or if the div does not exist. And we can run some code like that. So it's a little bit cleaner of a selector if you're trying to do things in custom code. Now, another thing this unlocks is hiding and showing elements across variants. So here I might want this main button to be used across most variants, but then maybe this link button to be used across some others. So I'll connect the visibility here to a conditional here, and we're going to say if the variant is any of the following. In this case, I'm going to want the stacks variant. Then I'll go ahead and set the text link to visible. And then for this main button here, we'll go ahead and connect that to a conditional again. We're going to say if the variant is any of these. So if it's the default or if it's the cover variant, then we're going to show this main button instead. So now, depending on the variant that we're using, we're actually swapping out child components across those different variants. Probably one of the most exciting parts is we can now more easily use components with collections. So here I'm on a CMS page and I might want this image to only show up. So I'll create a conditional here if the image CMS field is set. And I could add another condition to say if the video CMS field is not set, and this image will be completely deleted from the published site if these conditions are not met. So here we're able to create a lot more dynamic layouts without having a bunch of unneeded HTML on our published site. And we have some pretty good options here for filtering as well. So let's say I have this collection component of blog posts that I'm using in lots of different places throughout the site. And we can use the selected option here where we manually select a couple blog posts we want to feature. And we can even connect that to a component prop so that for each instance of this component, we can choose the order that the items show up in, and we can even choose which items we actually want to show on each instance of the component, which is really great. But for more dynamic filtering here, we can actually change this over to the dynamic option. And here I'll just leave no filters set by default, but I could apply some default ones if I want. I'll go ahead and connect the filters to a prop. And now here for the CMS, I can say if the name does not equal the name of the current blog post. And that way I'm filtering out that current blog post. And then for each blog post here, I also have these categories. So there's a single reference field where we can basically just choose which category we want for each blog post. So I can go ahead and say if the category here equals the category of the current blog post. And that way we're only seeing other blog posts within the same category. And it's filtering out the current blog post as well because we have it set to match all instead of just match any of these conditions. So now that we have that set, we can also create some more dynamic layout controls. So here, let's say that we want an option where things are basically stacked like this, and then we also want a columns option here. Well, if I head over to the CMS, I've basically just created this option dropdown where there's a columns or a stacked. So for each blog post, the client can choose what they want for the hero layout here. Well, now we can just connect these to conditionals. So on this column ones, I'll set its visibility to only show up if the hero layout that we have is the columns version. So that way this only shows up when it's columns. And then for this second section, the stacked version, we'll create the conditional and we'll say if the hero layout is the stacked version here. And so now that stacked version is completely gone off this page. But if we head to another CMS page, we might see that like a stacked version on that where it's set here. And the great news is this unneeded section will be completely removed from the published site. So we can give the client some pretty good layout controls with these new features as well. So that's an overview of the new conditional visibility in Webflow and how you can use it to really enhance your Webflow project.